guys, it's Angelo, and today we're talking about relics in World of Warcraft. Specifically, which relics you should be aiming for on your HowToPriest. Essentially, being 3 content patches into the game now, it's needless to say that there is a huge variety of relics and traits for you to choose from, but some are definitely stronger and more effective than others, which will fortunately narrow our options down pretty comfortably. In this video, we will go over your best relics, and similar to my previous reviews, so my legendary review and my trinket review, I will list our relics in different tiers of their effectiveness for you to understand where each trait will rank. I will not list our relics in form of the actual item, but rather in form of the trait, which obviously is the only thing that is important. Also, I will assume that each relic will be at the same item level, or rather each trait, so for generalization purposes, let's put this item level at an imaginary 950. This review should serve as a perfect go-to place for you to refresh your knowledge or to gain new knowledge, but is by no means the only set-in-stone list for you to go off of. Okay, now that being said though, of course, let's go right ahead and have a look. Before we delve any deeper into this video, I think we should give credit where credit is due. Thanks to all the people over at HowToPriest.com for forming a very handy, deeply theory-crafted list for us to go off of with these relics. The amount of work that has been put into analyzing all of these different traits is absolutely amazing, and I will draw from their results in order to support my points in this video. Now before we start us off here, it's important to talk about the Netherlight Crucible as well. The introduction of the Netherlight Crucible changed the dynamic of our relics pretty greatly, and seeing as our Netherlight Crucible traits are arguably our strongest traits either way, we kind of have to place them separately. I will get back to our Netherlight traits towards the end of the video, where I'll talk about which combination of Netherlight Crucible traits and regular traits you will want to aim for. There are different Netherlight traits that are stronger than others, but apart from the Refractive Shell and the Light's Embrace trait, which are both, they don't give you any damage, so essentially they're kind of obsolete for this comparison, all of the others will offer you a pretty strong damage increase. Since you will automatically have a fixed combination of Netherlight traits and can only choose from a given set on each relic, I wouldn't worry about that too much though. What's important is that you pick the right Netherlight traits that are on your relic, but after watching this video, honestly that shouldn't be much of a problem. Good, now in our lowest tier of relics we get to choose from, we have Void Corruption, which increases your Mind Seer damage, and Death's Embrace, which increases your Shadow Word death damage. Both, unfortunately, don't scale too well for us, and Void Corruption is still not very strong, not even after the Mind Seer buff. Death's Embrace would be a lot stronger if Shadow Word Death wouldn't have such a specific use in our rotation, and would be available through different phases of any given fight, and not just during the execute or when we're trying to snipe a Twist of Fate buff. In our higher regular relic tier, or trait tier rather, which would be our best regular traits, so excluding the Netherlight traits, from best to worst and from top to bottom, we have Fiending Dark, which extends the duration of our Mindbender or Shadow Fiend, Creeping Shadows, a regular trait which increases our shadow damage dealt, Touch of Darkness, which buffs our Vampiric Touch, To the Pain, which buffs our Shadow Word Pain, Unleash the Shadows, which grants us a higher chance to prop Auspicious Spirits from Vampiric Touches, or rather from Vampiric Touch crits, and Mind Shattering, which buffs our Mind Blast. Now, none of the traits in this tier are bad. In fact, some of the traits here could be considered to be, honestly, some of our best baseline traits and therefore relics, so excluding the Netherlight Crucible, for example Fiending Dark, and therefore it could very well be the case that you can start combining interesting Netherlight traits with these regular traits from here on out. The reason that some of the traits here aren't as strong as others is the fact that the Netherlight traits rank so much higher in comparison when we're looking at the damage output they offer, which reduces the effective value that many of the traits in this tier have, because in a way, they'd be a lot worse without the Netherlight traits that can be applied to them. Now, highest on our list are our Netherlight traits, or rather the Netherlight tier. Most, if not all, Netherlight traits give you a lot more damage than our regular traits do, with the exception of Fiending Dark, which actually pulls ahead of half of our Netherlight traits. However, to keep things organized, I've listed all Netherlight traits into their own tier for your interest. In order to explain Fiending Dark's strength, I'll mention it where it would rank damage-wise for you of course as well. All of the Netherlight traits in this tier give a direct damage increase in the form of actually applying damage, rather than buffing one of our other traits, so explaining their specific effect is kind of obsolete. Starting us off, we have Shadowbind, followed by Torment of the Weak, Dark Sorrows, Chaotic Darkness, and Light Speed. Fiending Dark now forms the gap and is followed by Secure in the Light, Infusion of Light, Shock Light, Master of Shadows, and Murderous Intent. Refractive Shell and Light's Embrace don't give a damage increase, making them the worst traits in the Crucible honestly. From top to bottom, these are your strongest Netherlight traits and will be the ones you want to aim for. Keep in mind that the Netherlight traits are dependent on which relics you actually use, which honestly limits them in their usage, but in an ironic return, makes relics that perhaps have a weak trait like Death's Embrace or Void Corruption a lot more valuable to you than they'd be initially. Here I'll display your ideal regular traits in combination with your ideal Netherlight traits. These will be the traits that will be pulling ahead of the others and are, from top to bottom in their respective list, your best traits. Ideally, you will want to have these regular traits with combinations of the Netherlight traits on them, but the Netherlight traits are actually strong enough to make it worth your time to use a regular trait that isn't listed here if you can get one of the strong Netherlight traits on combination on top of it. The system may appear a little complex to you at first, and I apologize if the tier lists were a bit weird to understand. Essentially though, I tried my best to construct them in a plausible way so that you understand where each trait ranks in comparison to another. Should you have any questions concerning your relics, please let me know in the comments below, and I'll be sure to try to answer every one of you, as I can imagine there being a lot of questions about this topic. Either way though, I hope this video did help you guys out, and I hope you've gained some knowledge from it. I'm not gonna lie, this video was a bit difficult to make, kind of complex honestly, and if you found my work helpful, I'd appreciate a like very much. Now, as always, have a good one my friends, and I will see you all in the next one.
Lifetime in repeat.